Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic is an absolute joke to still be being made after UFC 294. Tom Aspinall should be next in line to either fight Jon Jones upon his return later down the line in 2024 or fight Stipe Miocic in the meantime to then unify the belt and become an undisputed champion, stripping Jon Jones, and then have Jon Jones fight for the belt when he comes back. I don't even mind if Tom Aspinall fights for the interim belt again, defends the interim belt against Stipe Miocic, and then fights Jon Jones for the undisputed. I'm absolutely okay with that. I also think that Tom Aspinall would beat Jon Jones if it does go down that way, especially after Jon Jones tore his pectoral, and there's a reason for that, and I'll get to that throughout this video. I'm going to break down all of those statements I just made, starting with Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic still being made after Tom Aspinall stepped in on short notice to sleep Sergei Pavlovich in just over a minute's time is an absolute joke. I don't like it whatsoever. When the fight was first made, I was thinking to myself, okay, you know, Jon Jones just beat Cyril Gane. Tom Aspinall didn't even have a fight booked, and he just beat Marcin Tybura, or hadn't even beat Marcin Tybura yet when they were first talking about this matchup between Jones and Miocic. So I was thinking to myself, okay, Aspinall hasn't earned it. Gane just lost. It doesn't matter if he beats Spivak in the meantime. He'll only be on a one-fight win streak. No one else is really deserving in the heavyweight division. I would have rathered it been Sergei Pavlovich versus Jon Jones. He was more deserving than Stipe Miocic, but he wasn't as undeniable as he would have been if he would have beaten Tom Aspinall. And I'd be saying the same thing if Pavlovich just slept Aspinall in a minute's time. Or if Pavlovich just won a fight against Aspinall, I'd be saying the same thing, that he should be next. He should fight Stipe in the meantime and then fight Jon Jones on his return. But Aspinall slept, Pavlovich in a round, and now Dana White in the post-fight interview, where I thought he was going to say, I mean, how can you not give the title shot to Tom Aspinall after that? I thought he was legitimately going to say that. They ask him, and I'm like, what is he saying right now? Rebooking Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic. Let's just call this what it is. They want Jon Jones to go out undefeated so Ngannou can't be then considered. Like, that will gift him. If Jon Jones loses before he leaves the UFC and Jon Jones know that Ngannou will then have an up on Jon Jones. Let's be real. They loved the fact that Jon Jones beat Cyril Gane so easily compared to Ngannou. They won with that, you know what I'm saying? Ngannou bounces back with his performance against Tyson Fury. It's basically a battle between the two of them, the UFC and Jon Jones versus Ngannou and all the other MMA promoters and boxing promoters that be in the world. And now they don't want Jon Jones to have any risk, and they want him to sail off into the sunset as the GOAT. I don't like that at all. Why does Jon Jones, I get the Ngannou beef that the UFC has, why Jon Jones, of all people? Why does he get to sail off into the sunset? GSP was a big star. Dana White wanted him to lose. Straight up wanted him to lose by the time he was thinking about leaving the sport. He was angry and annoyed that GSP was retiring after the Hendricks fight. So annoyed that he openly said it was a robbery afterwards. You didn't hear him saying that about Jon Jones versus Dominic Reyes. You don't hear him saying about that about Jon Jones and some of his questionable decisions that he's had, especially that Reyes fight. You'll never hear that. But he berated GSP at a post-fight press conference because he was retiring. GSP never failed a drug test. You can say, oh, well, he might have been on this, might have been on that. He never failed a drug test. GSP never put hands on a wife of his. He don't have a wife, but GSP's never put hands on a woman outside the cage. GSP's never been arrested for this, arrested for that. Cancelled an event here because he doesn't want to take on a short notice opponent, like when Jon Jones turned down Chael Sonnen to save a card and shifted the entire event over. Now you can say, well, that was his coaches, but still it falls down to Jon Jones somewhere. Why is someone who has caused you so much stress as a promotion? I get he's made you money. GSP has as well. Why Jon Jones, who has caused you so many problems as a promotion in terms of money, in terms of events being cancelled, in terms of his inactivity, in terms of making a joke of the sport with the headlines that go around about his behavior outside of the cage, failing 4 PED tests, making an absolute mockery of USADA, let's call it what it is. Why does he get the treatment of, oh, no, give him Grandpa Stipe, who was limping into the arena at UFC 295, by the way. Let's give him Grandpa Stipe, who was chewing on a sherbet. I don't even know what he was chewing. I think a Werther's Original. Like, he was literally sucking on like a cough sweet on his way out to the cage, limping and hobbling along. I don't understand why they're doing this. I get it. The greatest heavyweight of all time, Stipe Miocic, consensus in the UFC, versus the greatest light heavyweight of all time, and arguably the greatest of all time, if you discard all of his failed PED tests and the fact that he fought DC with the testosterone of a castrated male. Instead, like, I know he's still the greatest of all time, even though TJ Dillashaw's legacy is now considered a joke by everyone because he failed a drug test. Fair. But still, why is he getting the hero send-off? I don't want the Ngannou beef to ruin credentials within the UFC heavyweight division and the actual deserving status of the heavyweight division on what should happen next. I don't know what words I pieced together there to make that make sense, but somehow it maybe did. Aspinall should be next. He just slept Sergei Pavlovich in a minute. His only loss is by Curtis Blades' Mateus Gamrot in his knee into pieces. It's a fact. You know what I mean? Curtis Blades became Mateus Gamrot to defeat Tom Aspinall. The only man who could possibly do it was Gamrot. Blades became him, cured his stutter for about a minute as long as that fight was lasting, shattered Aspinall's knee apart with his mind powers. Tom Aspinall beats Tybura. Other than that, he beat Volkov. You know what I mean? Destroyed him as well. Made him look really, really easy. Beat Spivak. Easy. Really, really easy. He has the shortest fight time in UFC history. It's about 2 minutes on average. 2 minutes on average, by the way. And he just beat Pavlovich by a minute. So he's beaten his own record on shortest fight time in UFC history. And he's had damn near 7-8 fights by now as well. So this ain't a guy doing it over 3 fights or anything like that. This is consistency against top contenders at heavyweight. He just slept Pavlovich. What should happen next? This is what I'm going to get to. Then I'll get into my thoughts on Jones versus Aspinall. What should happen next is Tom Aspinall versus Stipe Miocic. I don't mind Jones not being stripped of the belt. It's a legitimate injury. It's not like he's sitting around doing nothing. He got the surgery. I don't mind him. My mustache is being really annoying today. Sorry, guys. It's curling up into my mouth. I don't mind Stipe and Tom Aspinall fighting for the interim belt. I actually think that legitimizes it even more. And I think that actually, yes or no, if Tom Aspinall goes out there and smokes Stipe, Jones in the crowd, and they have an epic face-off, I reckon it does great numbers. I genuinely believe, although more people may pay attention to the build-up and the aftermath of Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic because of the marketing of it, I think in terms of pay-per-view sales, you could beat those numbers with Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones, especially now. If this happened before the Pavlovich win, I wouldn't be saying this at all. Aspinall's not really a big name. He's known. He's from the UK. I get it. But he wasn't really a superstar. After that win over Sergei Pavlovich, he's getting close. If he beats Stipe Miocic easily, he's now a star. If he has a face-off with Jon Jones in the crowd, that's an epic fight. Why are they giving Jones a layup on his way out? Why are they giving him a layup on his way out? Tom Aspinall just won. You know what you could do in the UK with Tom Aspinall winning a heavyweight world championship right now? I know Tyson Fury, you know, the fight with Ngannou is a fucking embarrassment. But right now, the UK has the boxing heavyweight world champion Tyson Fury and an MMA heavyweight world champion in the UFC in Tom Aspinall. You know how rare that is? I could gloat and say, yeah, you know, British just built different. You know what I'm saying? I could say that, but I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say that's lucky and rare to exist around the same time. This is the time to do a massive combat sports event in the UK around the UFC and Tom Aspinall. You could do, in April, UFC 300, heavyweight Tom Aspinall on the card, Stipe Miocic, McGregor on the card in the UK. Wembley Arena, this is when you do these things. You don't say, oh, Aspinall's going to have to sit out for a year. Jones versus Miocic, the recovery from a torn pectoral is what, 9 months? Jones got surgery about a month ago, a couple weeks ago. He's going to be out until we're looking at maybe like August for his return date or September next year. And then what does Aspinall do in the meantime? Wait until then to even book a fight? So you're telling me we're not going to see Aspinall until December? Is that what you're saying? Or is he going to defend against Gane while the undisputed fight happens and also the interim fight happens, and then you don't know if Aspinall's actually undisputed yet until Jones retires or not? Silliness. Stupidity. Sick of it. I'm sick of it. Tom Aspinall versus Stipe Miocic in the UK, main event, Wembley Stadium, UFC 300, co-main event, Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler, feature fight, Israel Adesanya versus Hamzat Chimaev. Ah! Make the fucking fight! Sorry. I'm actually getting hyped up. The prospect that we could have for a card in the UK. Paddy Pimblett, if he beats Tony Ferguson, do him versus like some other big name at lightweight, Poirier. They probably would if Pimblett makes a splash and gets a big name off of They could do Dustin Poirier, Nate Diaz, if Diaz is welcome back to the UFC. They can do big fights on this card at UFC 300. I'm sorry for screaming. I might have messed up my mic there, but I'm getting hype and I'm getting emotional about this. It needs to be done this way. And then Tom Aspinall beats Stipe Miocic because Miocic is an old man who can't walk without his wife's assistance holding him up by his arm. It's just going to be sad. It's just going to be sad seeing Miocic get destroyed by Jones and having to wait all that time until he's 50. Thought he ain't old enough. Let's delay it even more. Aspinall, Miocic, beats him, hype build up, stares down Jones in the crowd. Let's do it, undisputed. You know what? I'm not trying to be a hype train from the UK, but I want to fight Jon Jones. Make the fight happen. Why is Jon Jones getting preferential treatment after all the stuff he's done? If anyone deserves to be destroyed on their way out, it's Jon Jones, and I'll get to this now. I do believe that Tom Aspinall against a Jon Jones coming off a pectoral injury would beat Jon Jones. Now, if this was Jon Jones 4 months after the Gane fight, Aspinall just caught Pavlovich first round KO, and Jones was then going to fight Aspinall, I wouldn't be too confident in Aspinall as I am now. I may still have picked him after that Pavlovich performance, but I don't know if I would have. You know what I mean? It would have been like, but it's Jon Jones. Look how good he looked versus Gane. Like, you can't, you know what I mean? Jon Jones is going to be out for a while. He's getting older and older, okay? Motivation's going to be good, but not quite as good as his first time at heavyweight against Cyril Gane. You know what I mean? After time off, building himself up to that. Just about the time of a USADA suspension of 2 years, by the way, before he came back to fight Gane. Just going to point that one out. Jon Jones looks amazing before USADA. USADA comes around. He looks absolutely awful against all of the light heavyweights. Loses to Reyes. Arguably loses to Thiago Santos. Takes 2 years off. About the average time of USADA suspension. Comes back, destroys Cyril Gane, moving up to heavyweight and putting on a bunch of mass. Always good and normal. Nothing to see there. Jon Jones coming off his injury. He hasn't fought since March of 2023. He won't now fight until what? Until what? September at best of 2024. Aspinall, active. Just beat Pavlovich. Fight again in a few months against Stipe in March or April. Fight again after that. Staying active. Getting better. 30 years of age. How old is Jon Jones? He ain't that old. 36. He's getting up there and he will be 37 by the time he returns. And it's not good time off of him juicing up, building up into heavyweight and becoming better. It's time off of him recovering from an injury. And an injury that restricts his ability to work out the way he needs to. Pectoral tear, dude ain't doing military press. You know what I mean? He ain't hitting the bench. No way. There's a lot of movements in the gym with weights that he's just simply not going to be able to do. And this is a guy who, in my opinion, isn't born to put on mass. Jones is born to be skinny. That's his type. You know what I mean? Certain people I know Eddie Hall's on the source, but it's a good standard to use here, even though he's not in MMA. He's built to gain mass. You know what I mean? There's certain people that just have that gene where it's just more muscle, bloat on the belly. You know what I mean? I feel like Jon Jones is going to lose a bit of athleticism at heavyweight, seeing as this injury has happened. He's going to lose a little bit of ability in the takedown. Pectoral tears are no joke, especially serious ones that are going to take 9 months to recover from. So I'm not even taking this as a moral victory for Aspinall here. Like, he beats any version of Jon Jones. I'm saying the Jones that comes back at 37 years of age after a year and at best 6 months, a year and a half off, recovering from an injury that may change his ability altogether. Aspinall beats him, sleeps him on the feet in a minute or two. Can't tell me otherwise, man. Tom Aspinall's moving different. And you can say Cyril Gane all you want, man. Cyril Gane. Why did I pick him? Because Reyes beat Jones. Like, that's why I picked Cyril Gane. But then Jones subs Gane in a round. Best performance he's ever had against his toughest test. That's how MMA works. But, hear me out. Aspinall's different. Jiu-jitsu since he was a kid. Moving like a welterweight. I know we say Gane moves well. But at the end of the day, Gane moves like KSI. I know he moves well. And for a heavyweight, it's really impressive. But Aspinall is impressive amongst impressive. Pavlovich is impressive compared to heavyweights. Gane is impressive compared to heavyweights. Volkov is impressive compared to heavyweights. Aspinall is impressive compared to them. Who are impressive at heavyweight? The Volkovs, the Pavloviches, the Ganes. Aspinall has something that Gane doesn't have. The movement, similar. Aspinall's a little bit more dangerous, in my opinion, in terms of how quick he is. Whereas Gane is more like movement for show while he keeps his range. Aspinall's got better movement to find his way into the pocket and finish. And upon that getting into the pocket and finishing, he has the finishing ability that Gane doesn't. He has the ability to get a sub as soon as it hits the ground within 5 seconds. He has the ability to get a ground and pound TKO and get mount immediately after getting a takedown. He has the ability to finish someone by KO in round 1 within the first minute. Sergei Pavlovich at that on 2 weeks' notice when he had a back injury. He'll sleep the version of Jon Jones that comes back. And that's what should happen. Why are we giving Jones a favour on his way out of the sport? He's a 4-letter word that rhymes with scythe beater. That's what he is. Simple as that. He's a tard when it comes to alcohol. There's no excuse. Alcohol is not an excuse for behaviour beyond the age of 15. Okay? I'm from the UK. It might sound crazy to Americans, but UK, you get drinking a little bit earlier than Americans, I'm pretty sure. That's not an excuse for behaviour. Let's say past 21 for an international standard there. Not an excuse for behaviour past 21 whatsoever. So I'm sick of that being an excuse. He grew up middle class as well. So what fucking demons does he have? He's a fucking child. Great fighter. Multiple failed PED tests. If you don't trust the PED tests, USADA knows that he had the testosterone of a castrated male in his fight with DC. DC as well, by the way, had really high test in that fight. Nobody grills DC on that, and I need to maybe bring that up a little bit more. Get him fucking annihilated by this UK Chad on his way out. Like and subscribe. See you later. Goodbye. Sick of it.